Welcome to a restorative practice. I'm so thrilled to share this practice with you. It is based off of the essence of Shakti. And if you haven't already, there are two other practices, if you haven't already practiced them yet, rather, in narrative that are focused on Shakti. They're more of the Nourish, more vinyasa style, more of the slower paced vinyasa style that you can explore this element at your own leisure, at your own time. But Shakti is this concept of a feminine type of energy. And even if you're male too, we really need to learn how to embody this feminine energy because it is what nourishes us, it is what is creative, it is what is nurturing, it is also what is fierce. And there's all of these subtle energies, subtle powers that come with Shakti, which I explain in those other videos, that allow us to move through things like desire and the ability to act and the ability to be conscious, etc., etc. Shakti, also one of the places that I see it often kind of locked before it can really begin to be expressed in the body, is in the hips. And isn't that a request that so many people have often, is I really need a practice for my hips. And so here it is. Here is a restorative practice that will really get in deeply to the hip space. So for practice today, you're going to need a blanket. Where are my blankets? You're going to need a blanket or two. You're going to need a bolster or a pillow, definitely some blocks. At the time of this recording, I am, of course, 6 months pregnant. So I'll be taking some modifications, and I'll tell you when I do that because you may not necessarily need to do those same pieces. As we get set up, feel free to pause this video for a moment and really create the setup that you need. So meaning, maybe you want to light a candle. Maybe you want to grab your favorite blanket. Maybe you want to put on something in your diffuser, or you want to put on some light music. This is really important to Shakti, is really learning how to nourish ourselves, really learning how to take care of ourselves fully and not rushing to do this practice, but really taking time to set up the sacredness of the experience. Okay? So when you're ready, we'll begin in a thunderbolt position. So if you have your blocks, you can use those. You can also stack up some pillows. And what you're going to do is take the block or a thick book. It's going to be that width. And you're going to take it right underneath of your sit bones. Okay? So you're going to sit your hips back on that. The feet are going to be wider than the hips. Okay? Feet wider than the hips, knees together, thighs together. Tailbone will start to lengthen down. Oftentimes it kind of pops back behind us. Lengthen the tailbone down, bring the hands to the thighs. You need to stack up more blocks to make yourself more comfortable. Please do so. Palms can face down or up. And when you're ready, start to close the eyes. And as you begin to close the eyes, I just want you to start to tune into the sounds that surround you. So depending on the time of your practice, you may hear something in nature like the birds, or you might hear crickets, if that's an area, or those are in an area for you. I don't hear those anymore in Rhode Island. You might hear your music that's playing. Tune into the smells. I have some rosemary going in my diffuser. I also had a rose candle. You might have something else. Maybe it's the morning and you smell your tea or your coffee. Notice the feeling of the clothing that you're wearing on your skin. And does it feel soft or uncomfortable? Do you need to adjust? How are you using your clothing to adorn your body and to allow your body to express itself, or your full being to express itself? All of these components are ways that we can work with Shakti. Sound, smell, touch, of course, seeing and tasting. And then begin to come into your body fully and beginning to deepen and create more smoothness in the breath, whatever that means for you. Deepen and create more smoothness in the breath. And asking yourself the simple question of, do I feel nourished lately? How am I nourishing myself? And part of nourishment, let's be clear, because these are videos, is not rushing to get to the video and then rushing off afterwards. It's creating a little bit more space, a little bit more fluidity in between our to-dos. Yes? Maybe asking yourself, is there sacredness in my day? Am I allowing myself to feel sacredness? And what are those sacred moments or pauses in my day? Maybe this practice is a time to explore that. Go ahead and take a deep breath as you're ready, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And either keeping the eyes closed or blinking them open, we're going to come into some seated cat-cows here. So hands can be down on the thighs, on the quads, and as you inhale, bring the heart forward, maybe lift the chin. And then as you exhale, round through the back body, slide the hands down towards the knees, chin towards the chest. Keep cycling through here. Inhale, reaching the heart forwards, opening the heart. Exhaling, we round, we soften, chin towards the chest. And you might have a different rhythm than me. That would be fine. So you might be going slower. You may be lingering with the heart open. All that is fine, or lingering in the rounding of the back, stretching out the back of the neck. One more round here. And before we settle into some restorative postures, these are restorative / yin. You are going to feel something. Yin is a little bit more active. Go ahead and find neutral. I want to warm up the spine, warm up the legs. So rock all your weight over into the right hip and then take your left foot out in front of you, okay? And just take a moment to open and close that knee. It's getting a little more challenging for me, growing this tiny human. So rocking the knee open and closed. This is just signaling to the leg, to the body, that in a moment we're actually going to be doing some more work, some more opening here. And sometimes it can feel shocking, even a restorative pose, to come into a hip opener too fast. Okay, I really want to ease you into the body and allow you to receive whatever is locked or being stored in the body. Yeah? Good. Go ahead and bring that knee back, that foot back. Take the other side. Rock all the way into the left hip. Right sole of the foot comes down. And begin to fan the knee open. And then go ahead and close it again. Fan the knee open. And then close it again. Doesn't have to be a big movement. It's nice, gentle, soothing. This actually might be a lot anyway, just sitting in this posture. Good. And then tucking the leg back underneath of you, we're going to come right into tabletop. So you can take your block away. I'm going to keep my blocks pretty handy. Find your tabletop. And then you can take a moment here to move how you want. If you want to rock the hips from side to side, if you want to take some cat-cow here, if you want to roll through the hips, all that is fine. Just take a moment. You want to roll through the ankles. And we're gonna move into our first hip opener here. So I'm gonna grab a blanket. I'm also gonna use a bolster. Again, you don't have to use both. My blanket's gonna be quite wide. Oh, I don't even like this fold here. So you're gonna take your blanket or your, what would actually work really well here too is a bath towel because there's a little bit more thickness than some of those throw blankets. So I'm gonna have mine about that wide, yeah? And I'm just gonna lay it down across my mat. And you wanna make sure in restorative that blankets or props, especially our blankets, are really nice and smooth, okay? There's no ridges or edges in it. Yeah, for me, I'm gonna use a bolster. This is one of those things where you don't have to do. It's gonna be a belly down pose, and of course I can't necessarily do that right now. So you're gonna bring hands in front, lower the hips all the way down to the earth. My hips are gonna be on my prop. If you are expecting, you can do that too, but you don't necessarily have to. If you are not, and what we're gonna do is you're gonna slide your right knee out to the right side so that your knee is in line with your hip. Flex through your foot, back leg is right behind your shoulder. I'm gonna stay propped on my forearms, okay? This is a nice gentle hip opener for most. If you want to stack your fists and drop your forehead down, if you want to bring your palms on top of one another and bring the forehead down, you can certainly do this. The idea is that you're finding no resistance. So you're just letting that hip open. And as you breathe, seeing if you can relax the glutes. Relaxing the toes. And relaxing all the muscles of the face, the forehead. And as you settle in for maybe another minute or so, notice if you're still contracting and holding in a muscle somewhere, and see if you can relax the hips a bit more. Really let them release. Let gravity, let the floor hold you and do the work of opening up this right inner thigh. You might even adjust the leg just a little bit so the knee is again in line with that hip and the ankle is in line with the knee. So the leg has this nice 90-degree angle to it. Surrender the forehead, surrender the upper body. And then gently starting to ease our way out of this posture. Take a breath. Walk onto the palms. Start to press into the palms. You'll get a little heart opener. Slide that knee in and eventually find yourself back in tabletop. And again, you can rock a little from side to side. Breathe here. And then we begin to set up on the other side. So bringing the hips back down. Sliding the knee, left knee out to the left side. Knee in line with the hip. Take your time to get settled here. You have your blanket hopefully to support that inner knee so it's not super hard at the floor underneath of your mat. Ankle in line with the knee. Stay on your forearms if you'd like. For many of us, we'll be able to drop onto our fists or the palms. And really begin to take those deep breaths, really feel the weight of the forehead, such a grounding position. And as you're here, you might even notice the textures underneath of you. You might notice the feeling of the mat, of a carpet, or of hardwood if you're touching it somewhere. Notice the feeling of the blanket underneath of the knees. And can you surrender into these symbols of earth a little bit more? Really let gravity hold you. And then gently beginning to come out of this posture, taking your time, sliding the hands underneath of the shoulders, lifting up, using the lower belly to lift, drawing the leg in, finding your table, and then taking your time, bringing the big toes to touch, knees wide, and sinking back into child's pose, perhaps taking a bolster and sliding it under your torso. So you can rest here. And if you haven't yet, not twisting, but turning the head rather in the opposite direction, just to get a different stretch on the neck. We won't be here too much longer. And then gently starting to lift back up into table. Keep your bolster handy. I'm actually going to fold my blanket another time for what we're about to do. We're going to move into some thread the needle, okay? So my blanket is going to be on what we call the tri-fold there, and that'll be for my knees. Again, nice and smooth. And that'll be for my knees. I'm going to keep this bolster long ways in front of me. Some people really like this, the way that we're about to do thread the needle. Some people would prefer without the bolster. So it's really going to be up to your discretion, what you feel. So we're going to start to come into table. And instead of taking a big twist before we start, we're just going to take the right hand and begin to slide it underneath of the left. Your right shoulder is going to come down to the bolster, your right cheek. Your left hand, I think it's most comfortable to slide it forward for now. And staying here, if you have the ability to stay with the arm behind you, reaching for the right hip, kind of snaking around there, you can certainly do that, but just remember we're going to be in this posture for another 1.5 to 2 minutes. Feel the stretch across the right arm, the right shoulder. You slow down the breath. And then we'll gently be coming out of this posture. So beginning to slide left hand back underneath of the left shoulder, unraveling, coming back into your table, finding your tabletop. And we'll gently move into the other side. So not staying in these postures for, 5-6 minutes. These are a little bit shorter because they're a little bit more intense. Left hand's going to slide underneath the right arm, shoulder down, cheek down. Maybe you slide the right arm forward. You can also take the right arm behind you, finding the left hip. But remember, we're going to be here for, again, another minute, minute and a half. So if you can hold it here, great. If you feel like that's not quite easeful, go ahead and come back to another variation, okay? And then eventually we start to come out of this. Slide the right hand underneath of the right shoulder, begin to unravel, come back to your tabletop for a moment. Wiggle as much as you need to. We're going to move our bolster off to the side. We may actually use it in a moment. And then we're going to adjust our prop because we're going to come into Tarasana. So I'm going to stay on a blanket. You actually might choose to stay with the bolster. And you're going to come to a seated position. I'm going to bring my blocks over all of the props. Restorative and yin is like having a slumber party as a kid, right? You have all these things around you. So Tarasana, we're going to bring the soles of the feet to touch, but we're going to slide the feet forward. I know you can't really see my feet as in this particular angle, but the feet aren't super close to the body, okay? They're going to be sliding away so you have this nice diamond shape, okay? We're going to have some options here. You might choose to stay upright. You might choose to start to bring the upper body forwards, and as you do so, maybe you take a block or two. You can actually drop the forehead right to the top of that block. For me, that feels really nice. I could probably stay there for a while. You might also have extra blankets or pillows, and you can stuff them underneath of the knees if you need more knee support, and then like bring something underneath of your forehead as you come forwards. Okay. Tarasana is opening the hips, the outer hips, gently the inner thighs. It's also really getting into the low back. So remember Shakti, this essence of Shakti gets really stuck in the second chakra, right? Second chakra being the sacral region, the seat of creativity and pleasure and bliss. We have to let that circulate to start to experience Shakti. So see if you can really breathe into this space and settling here for another minute to two. And what you'll also notice is a lot of these postures are also requiring a surrendering of the third eye, Ajna chakra. The third eye being in the center of the forehead, and it's the seat of intuition, knowing. Everything is connected. There are no coincidences in our practice. Noticing where your hands are falling. Maybe they're on the legs or the feet. Maybe you want to bring them out in front if you have any space and flip the palms to face up in the symbol of receiving and letting go. We have to let go in order to receive. When we are too full, we cannot receive. And gently begin to lift up. Take your time. Take your time, take your time. Slide the feet back so you are coming into Baddha Konasana, butterfly. Again, you can bring props underneath of your knees. We're not going to be here long, but if you feel like you want some more stability, you can bring blankets or pillows or blocks. Hands to the ankles or the calves here. Sit up nice and tall. Soften the shoulders and just drop left ear towards the left shoulder as you close the eyes. Breathe deep. And then inhale to lift to center and then drop right ear towards the right shoulder. Relaxing the fingers. We're not gripping our legs for dear life. We're just using them for a little leverage to open up through the neck, the throat. And then gently coming back to center. We're going to come into something called restorative frog. And when I say that, it may not be the most easeful posture of your life. And I want you to know that that's okay. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come back in the table. All right. I'm going to unfold my blanket again. This is going to be for my knees. And my frog is going to look a little bit different than yours. So just listen carefully as we come into this. Okay. You really want to have a nice, thick support. So you might want a big stack of pillows. I'm actually going to use 2 blocks in my bolster, but sometimes I like to actually use my really, really thick bolster for this. And you're going to bring your blocks just like that. Move my water. And then your bolster on top, okay? This may not be high enough. Depending on how tight your hips are, you may need to bring another pillow on top. You may need to bring another bolster or stacking up blankets. I can see it in my head. All right. You may also need to adjust your blanket and bring your blanket underneath of one half of this setup, depending on how you're going to do it. My belly is going to be off of this prop. Your belly, unless you have a baby in it, is going to be on the prop. All right. So I'll demonstrate that. You're going to come so that your hips are over top. Bring the legs nice and wide, just like frog pose. Bring your knees out, and you're going to slowly lower the entire torso onto your props. Now, I'm not lowering myself completely. And keep sliding the knees out. And this is where you'll know, ooh, I need to prop myself up more if I'm feeling too much of a stretch. Your knees are going to be in line with your hips. Your ankles, you want to be more or less in line with the knees. And you want to flex the toes so they kind of turn out. The toes aren't underneath of you like that. You want to turn them out, okay? And when you feel comfortable, you can slowly rest your torso on your props. So my belly is actually kind of off the back, but your belly, I want you to connect it to your props, okay? And then again, you may want to give yourself a little bit more lift. So don't be shy to bring another block or another bolster, another pillow onto this setup to give yourself more lift. Allow maybe the left cheek, or perhaps it was the right that went down naturally, to just really surrender in. Really allow the breath to be full and deep. And if this is still too intense on the inner thighs, just slide the knees back so they're not in that 90-degree angle. That way it takes a little bit of the intensity out. Okay, but the breath is going to be key here. We store and hold so much in our hips, and this can not only be a releasing experience. You might feel emotions or sensations or things that you can't necessarily put words to come up, but it can also be a really welcoming, embodying experience of becoming closer attuned to the water element to the creativity, to the flow. All right, a few more breaths. And then begin to take the opposite cheek to your prop. Notice if you're still clenching or holding. Sometimes we're surprised that we are. Can you release something in the body a bit more? Toes, jaw, the hips, the belly. And then gently beginning to walk our way out of this. So bring the hands underneath of the shoulders, coming all the way back. Slowly bringing one knee together and then the next. Yeah, taking your time, maybe sit back on your heels just as I am and just, taking a moment to notice and experience what's coming up for you. Beautiful. And then from here, we blink the eyes open. We're going to take our final posture. I'm actually going to keep my blanket where it is. You may actually choose to stay in this posture for Shavasana. Some of us will want to slide our props out. You may also want to have another blanket nearby. We're just going to do a very simple restorative fish. Okay, so your pillow, your bolster is going to come towards the top third of your mat. And you're going to lay down. I'm coming onto my side. I'm keeping my blanket where it is to just have that nice subtle elevation of my hips. You're going to come down. As you come onto the back, you're going to have the shoulder blades be above your prop. Okay, so they're not on your prop, they're above it. The bolster, the pillow is right underneath of the shoulder blades. The arms, if you're okay with it, can come out into a goalpost shape. And the knees can stay bent. Maybe you want to knock the knees together. So you're getting a little bit of some internal rotation, especially after all this external rotation. That might feel really nice. Or you might want to extend the legs all the way out in front. So giving our bodies a chance to have the heart be a little bit above the head. So many of us lead with the head in our lives. And that is not about, it's not what Shakti is about. Maybe even visualizing the wisdom of the heart, kind of like a sweet nectar flowing into the head, really informing what we hear. And so maybe you can ask, what is my heart sharing with me in this moment? What does it want me to know? You can stay right here. We're going to move into a bit of meditation before slipping into Shavasana. So if this is comfortable for you, you can stay with it. If you want to take the bolster out or place it in a different position, let the legs come out in front of you, maybe drape a blanket over the body. Take a moment or two to do that now. As you fully relax, release, surrender the body, become very aware of the breath moving in through the nostrils and out through the nostrils. Becoming aware of the prana that we're taking in. Now, on the exhale, the prana is actually moving into different areas of the body. It's called vayus. So you might attach a color to the breath on the inhale, drawing this prana, this life force energy in. And as you exhale, you might continue that color as it infiltrates the body. The breath moves down, it moves up, it moves out towards the limbs. And see if you can be with that visualization, drawing the breath in a particular color. And as you exhale, the breath moves up, down, out, even side to side, infiltrating the body. Prana in, apana is down, udana is up. We also have vyana and samana. And as you work with this color, the color begins to fill and nourish the body. The prana moving and flooding the body in all directions. And for a moment or two, becoming very aware of as the prana moves in, becoming very aware of the energy moving down, down towards the pelvis, down towards the hips as you exhale, focusing on that flow. This is called apana. Directing the energy down. Body is effortless. And then for a moment, starting to direct the energy up, inhaling the prana in. As you exhale, sending the breath up. Udana. And here we become very aware and sensitive to the subtleties of our energy, of our breathing. Beginning to pull in the prana and starting to bring all of our awareness, all of our focus to the center of the pelvis, to the sacral region of the body. And you can hold your awareness here. You can imagine a color filling the pelvis. The color of this area is typically orange. You can also place an element here. The element of water resides here. And take a few moments to be in this experience of awareness of the pelvis, of flooding it with color, or placing the element of water in this space. And maybe you've already drifted into stillness, shavasana, dhyana. Allow yourself to release any grip on the mind and allow your body, your heart to go deeper into this practice, soaking up the nourishment and the sacredness of this moment. And allowing yourself to begin to experience Shakti. Continue to be in this experience of rest and relaxation for at least another 5 minutes or longer. I'm sending you so much warmth and love and care in this moment. Om Shanti, Om Peace.